Hello, my name is Marie Jackson, and this is my final video summary of learning for teaching science K through 6. The first part of this talks about misconceptions. So a misconception, like a science misconception, is a misunderstanding of a science concept that does not have evidence or facts that support it. Two misconceptions that are typically held in elementary students are one in life science, and that trees are only considered plants when they are small, and in earth and space science, that the earth is closer to the sun in summer than in winter. As a teacher, to help students explain their misconceptions in science phenomena, I will allow them to explore the misconceptions themselves to make sense of it. Themselves, for example, if it was like a sink or float misconception, I would create an explore activity in a lesson so that the students would get to experiment themselves with the different objects. The second part is the progression of the standards. For progression of the standards in regards to NGSS, I think it's taking one core idea within science and building onto what was previously learned in the earlier standards to create a deeper understanding about a phenomena and be able to understand why something happens the way that it does in in a progress in a line throughout throughout schooling. And for this standard 5-PS1-3, it is a physical science standard that talks about matter and its observable properties. And so the explore activity that I would create would be over like minerals or rocks, where the students get to classify the minerals in categories that they come up with instead of me giving them the scientific classifications, because I feel like if I give them the scientific classifications like malleability and hardness and things like that, they wouldn't be able to create a deeper understanding or be able to explain as much because they would already be given to them. And so I would allow them to come up with their own classifications before giving them to them later in a different part of the lesson. Before coming to me in 5th grade, they would learn that matter, what matter is and that it exists and has different observable properties. And then after 5th grade, they would learn about the classifications within 5th grade, and then after that it would help them understand what matter is composed of and how it is composed of atoms and what the properties themselves are and how they are affected within in the atoms. So first I'm going to start by describing the desired outcome of all of the 5 E's, and then get to an activity or a lesson. So for the desired outcome for the engage portion of the 5E is just to get students to start questioning a phenomena that is presented to them, or be invested in the lesson that they're going to take part of. This could include a story or a scenario, or an overarching question, something to that effect. And then the explore portion, the desired outcome is to have students take a look into the phenomena and fail if need be. So this is just a very large testing portion, and so they're starting to make an understanding of what is happening, but they may just be testing or questioning a lot of things. For the explain portion, the desired outcome is, for me, I see it as to have a student-led discussion where all the sense making happens. So when I have written lessons before in the explain portion, I have always had it be student-led instead of having me explain what I want them to understand, so that way that they're creating the deepest understanding and that they are making sense of it themselves instead of me handing it to them. In the elaborate portion, this is where the students take what they've made sense of in the phenomena and expand on that in their learning to create a deeper understanding. And in the evaluate portion, the SOAR students are assessed on their cognitive and psychomotor or affective objectives that were created by the teacher. Just a quick activity for each of them. Like I said before, the engage portion could be a story or a scenario. So it could be like for this one, it could be a scenario that's given where you have to get animals like off of an island, and it's a sink or float type of misconception that they're going to be investigating. And so the activity for the explore portion would be that students are going to design a solution, like creating a boat for animals that need escaping. And in the explain portion, they're going to explain like why some materials that were given to them were able to sink and some sunk. Then for the elaborate portion, this could be like a redesign portion, so they were able to redesign the boat that they made, and so it incorporates the engineering design process within the 5E's. And then for the evaluate portion, this would be an observable, like informal assessment that's done by the teacher through the elaboration phase within the in the explain portion, and so that the teacher can see if they have met a cognitive objective. For the engineering design process, the engineering is elementary. The engineering design process is a continuous cycle that has like defining a problem, planning a solution, making a model, testing the model, and then reflecting and redesigning. For me, I definitely believe that the deeper understanding happens in the reflect and the redesign, because the student is able to see if something like did or did not work and how they can fix it to find the best solution. And so this provides them with like the opportunity to like understand what they did and why they did it, and be able to fix something. And for the feedback, I'm going to start with the not helpful one first. So the thing that I didn't feel was super helpful was the bulletin board. Like, I liked the creativity behind it, but I think it was really hard to come up with a progression when I felt like it was really hard to keep everybody involved. Like, I thought it was kind of a struggle to keep everybody involved within the bulletin board after their part was already done. Like, I didn't feel like there was a lot of communication, and that may have just been my group, but I didn't feel like there was a lot of like creativity amongst the group themselves. I felt like it was kind of like two people coming up with the progression itself and how it was going to be displayed. So I didn't feel like that was super helpful, but I think the thing for me that was the most helpful was going to be the unit plan, or creating the entire science lesson plan within the group. As much as I struggled with group work this semester and like creating that initial science lesson plan, I think it really helped me understand the best way to write a science lesson when I was going into this very like unsure, and now I feel very confident in being able to write an entire science lesson plan, let alone a unit. And I definitely feel better in my abilities in teaching, and just think I need to focus more on like the content of science and teaching myself that if I feel like I have forgotten it. So yeah, I definitely think the unit plan or the group activity or the group science lesson was really helpful, and I enjoyed doing it. Yeah, I really enjoyed this semester, so thank you so much, and hope to see you around.